Welcome to the GSMC Business News Podcast, the show dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning business, technology, and the stock market. Get a head start on the day as we keep you updated on the latest goings-on Wall Street, money, jobs, and technology. If you're looking for a podcast to keep you informed and ahead of the game in business, the GSMC Business News Podcast has you covered.
It's your girl Moriah. Thanks for tuning into the GSMC Business News Podcast powered by the GSMC Podcast Network. Today we're going to be talking about sales. A lot of businesses understand that sales is the key. Without sales, I don't think any business would stand. Sales doesn't necessarily have to be currency. Sales is literally the exchange of goods and services. So you can do a bartering sale, and that's where, just for this simple example, I have water and tea in front of me. So you have tea and I have water, and if there's a shortage in one or the other, which, you need water to make tea, but for the example, let's just go with it, right? So you have tea and I have water, and we decide to come up with a type of bartering system where for every 3 cups of tea, you get 4 bottles of water. And so 3 cups of tea is equal to 4 bottles of water. And from there, we would exchange, and I would get some teas every time I need some, and you would get water every time you need some. The same goes for money. You want to exchange, this type of currency for that type of currency. So this currency is worth this much of currency, right? So currency A is worth $1, currency B is worth 50 cents, right? So for every $2, you would have, you would have 4 of currency B, right? So there's different ways that sales goes. For the simple example of what we do during our day-to-day, you buy something and you use money in order to obtain that product, or you look for a service. You might go and get a massage and you pay for that massage service. That's the way we do sales. But if you look back over history and back over time, it wasn't always so simple as the way we do it now. Again, it was more so bartering, and you come with this much crop and I'll give you a cow, things of that nature. So it wasn't always strictly money or strictly currency. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Just different, some cool quotes I've found on sales that I agree with. Some of them I've went over during my studies in grad school. So I have a little bank of some good quotes from some great leaders. So we'll be discussing that, and then how you can implement some great sales systems into your own business. A lot of times it's pretty hard after that first launch, right? So you might have launched a company or a brand or a service, whatever you decide. And you get through your launch, you get, everyone's excited and they shop with you. You might have had pre-orders, you might not have, and everyone's hyped. And then it's this dip that you hit, because now your customers have already purchased what they wanted to purchase from you. And if you're selling something that's not an everyday need, then, the chances of that customer coming back quickly, it gets pretty low, right? So with sales, that's why you need a strategy. There has to be some type of strategy to how you're going to get money. So, I like to harp on my business plans. In the business plans, you have to have your sales goal, your sales strategy, I should say. How exactly are you going to make any money? We talked about social businesses in some previous episodes. With those are the only businesses I say that I personally give leeway to, that they don't have to focus solely on money. You should be focusing on the greater good. I would say with other business structures, y'all need to worry about the bread, okay? You have to worry about how you're going to feed your workers. If you have a team, how are they going to feed their family? If you have a family, how are you going to feed your family? Doing the work and doing the advertising and getting the word out there, doing the promotion and creating the products, and working on the product line, really fine-tuning your customer base and things of that nature. It's all nice. But without the funds, that operation will dwindle. It'll fizzle, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today, the sales. What is sales? Why do we need it? Why is it so important? Why is it so stressful, right? We're going to get into all of that. So, again, sales is, the exchange of goods and services. And when you're in this type of field, you have to be very transparent, because you're asking someone to spend something that is of great value. There's a rat race to obtain wealth and to obtain riches, and and especially in our culture now, you see a lot of flashing of nice jewelry, nice vacations, great looking food, great looking islands, fly clothes, awesome cars. I'm still working on getting me a Tesla one day, right? So you see all of this coming at you, and so you want the money to get those things. In business, we want the money to create more business opportunities and to grow operations. So sales is a major integral piece, and you have to have a team. In order to have a team, again, you need transparency. You have to be transparent in sales. That's why I used to have trouble working in sales for certain jobs, because I was not a believer in the item that I was trying to sell. I didn't believe in the brand. I just was trying to get the money because I was a broke college kid and I just needed some funds. I did sales all throughout college. That was, the retail and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't for me. I didn't believe in the product. So I always thought I was a bad salesperson. And I would say that a lot, like, man, I'm such a bad salesperson. I can't sell anything. And then I had to be transparent with myself. I like to speak positivity in the atmosphere. I think, you have to do the work, but some good positive thoughts is always helpful. So I stopped saying that I was a bad salesperson, and I started really dissecting the issue. And it was because I wasn't transparent enough. I didn't really be honest with myself. I don't believe in this product, and that's why it's not selling. So what I should have done was find a reason to believe in it, at the time anyway. But now I understand that being a serial entrepreneur and doing a lot of different ventures, if I don't really believe in what I'm doing, I'm not going to continue it, because that comes off to your customers, and customers are the ones who are fueling the sales. So if they know that they can feel when a business owner is just trying to sell them something. Everyone knows when you're just trying to get, someone's just trying to sell you a product or service, and you're like, man, this is crap. I wouldn't pay for this. A good salesman will help you to believe in the product or service that you're getting ready to pay for. I would say, because I used to be a bad salesperson, is more so just like, hey, this is what we have, this is how much it costs. Everything about it isn't great, but there are some good things with it, right? You don't want to lead with that when you're doing sales. You want to be transparent. This is what I love about this item or this service. This is why it's so great. This is why you should have it, right? On a basic, very, very simple level. So you have to be transparent when it comes to sales. And one of the biggest reasons why you want to be transparent in sales is because this is a transaction, right? This is it's almost like a contract between, you and another party, or two parties or more. So you gotta stay transparent, you gotta stay open, and you have to be very, very honest. I don't like to be swindled. So I'm always making sure I'm not being swindled. There are customers like that. I can say at times I can be a difficult customer, and that's because I am on this side of business. So I know when a swindle is trying to take place. one side note, in business, there will always be scammers. As long as humans and human emotion is in business, there will always be what's considered a scam. Someone is trying to sell you something that ain't worth a dime, right? But they're gonna make it seem like it is, and they're just trying to swindle that money out of you. So you have to be very, very careful in business. That's why I believe in transparency. But with being transparent, you got to understand how a sale even works, right? So you can have your first launch and everything goes good, but then how do you keep the momentum going? So you want to understand how it works. So, the seller provides the buyer or the customer with a good or service in exchange for a specific asset or an amount of money. And then to complete that sale, again, that's almost like a contract, like an agreement. We agree that this is what it is, right? So it has to what you're selling actually needs to be available. So what does that mean? If you have a website and you have items on the website, but no one can ever purchase anything because they're always sold out, you're not going to have good times in sales, right? Eventually, a customer will not come back because they're like, man, every time I go to that website, they never have what I want. They never have my size, or they never have the rep that I like, in the service industry. Some customers are just very particular, and they only want servicing from a specific rep. So that needs to be made known up front that, at any time, someone else may be the one to assist you, because that's another reason why a sale will not go through. A customer will walk away because of things like that. And also be very mindful that a gift or donation is very different from sales. I know when I was briefly in a very brief in light capacity, I was assisting a business owner with doing their business plan. It was just a brief one pager, and I was doing their timeline, and I was trying to figure out their KPIs because everything was kind of jumbled together. Sometimes businesses they're trying to get the numbers correct, so they just throw all of their data at you. All the information they have, all the sales they've had, all the purchases they've made, they just kind of vomit it out on paper. And you have to sit there and, dissect everything. And what I noticed was they were counting donations in a way that you account your sales. So you want to keep those things separately. Because a monetary donation is not necessarily you getting a sale. That's just a monetary donation. So when you write down your numbers, you just on your balance sheets and on your spreadsheets, you just want to make sure that those little things are being accounted for. You'd be surprised how many people are in business, but don't understand their sales spreadsheet. It's just easy to not pay it any mind. Math isn't everyone's favorite subject. At least when I was in school, everyone was trying to avoid math like the plague. So, when it comes to being a business owner, especially when you're first starting out, more than likely you are the team. You are the sales rep. You are the bookkeeper. You are the advertiser, the promoter. So you want to really take the time out to understand each specific lane within business. Business is not all about making a product, and it's not all about just getting money. The sales portion of that is very, very important, and you want to be very transparent while you're making sales. You want to understand the difference between sales, donation, bartering. Bartering is not specifically a sale, only because a sale is technically an exchange of goods and services for monetary reasons, or for currency. A barter is more so an exchange of goods for other goods, or even in some experts that I've read their work, they consider credit cards to be like a middleman for a bartering system. So because it's not any type of like cash, it's credit. So there's a lot of details, a lot of specific things in sales that you want to pay attention to. There's all kinds of sales. There's not just, hey, do you want to buy a t-shirt? It costs such and such amount of money. You get the money, they get the t-shirt, and they go on their way. There are different kinds. There's B2b sales. There is inside sales. There's outside sales. So we're going to take a quick break. Now that we know what sales is and how to be when you're going about making a sale, just be transparent, be honest, really believe in what you're selling, and really understand the product. Product knowledge is very helpful during sales. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into the different types of sales. All right, so stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a podcast that gives you all of the latest news from the world of finance? Then check out the GSMC Financial News Podcast. We'll delve into the ups and downs of the stock market, changes in the economy, and news from the world of real estate and technology. From breaking news on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or the overseas market, to updates on the bond market, if there's money to be made, we'll cover it on the GSMC Financial News Podcast.
Back again. This is your girl Moriah, and today we're talking about sales. We briefly touched on what a sale is, literally an exchange of goods and services for currency. There are bartering. There are, just different layers of sales. For example, if you are buying a home, it's not considered a sale until the home has been purchased. However, on the back end, there are many layers to the sale. So you might have had the bank who is giving you, the buyer, some funds to finance the home. The bank may also sell a mortgage or to a mortgage investor, and they could sell you a mortgage-backed security. There's a lot of different things in sales. So especially depending on your field. You just want to really throw yourself in the books. I like to say you want to be like a LeBron James of business, right? You want to have the skill set, but you also want to have the physical skill, but you want to have that IQ. You want to be able to say, okay, I know how to do all of these moves. I know how to I know how to pace the floor. I know how to do all of this, but I need to understand if there's a play going on the other side of the ball. I need to be able to understand what's going on so that I can move accordingly as the athlete, or in this case, as the seller, right? So you want to have the knowledge base of your side of business. So that physical aspect, like in basketball, but you want to have the mind of the consumer. So you're able to read those defensive plays, right? You want to be knowledge based. You really need to know what you're talking about. Information is out there in ways that it wasn't before. So a consumer can easily Google something in the middle of you talking. I've seen it happen. This guy was trying to sell a product, and he was kind of giving a little bit of BS. Not gonna lie, he was just trying to make the sale. It was a rough day. He was trying to make a sale, and the potential buyer, they didn't end up buying, but the potential buyer pulled out their phone and started Googling, and was like, "No, that's not right." And I've seen reviews on this product, and you don't even know what it is you're selling, and they're like just ripping them to shreds. And I felt so bad, but at the same time, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to be mindful of the reviews, because in sales, it's the trust, it's the transparency, and it's the trust. The customer is trusting that what you're giving them, what you're selling them, is worth what they're paying for it, and it's worth coming back to buy more, and it's worth that sale is worth much more than the dollar amount. So you might be selling a bottle of aspirin for $15, right? It has to be worth it. Does the aspirin really work? Is this like, you might have had a cheap aspirin that you got from the gas station one day. So it doesn't hit the same as a Tylenol extra strength, right? So you don't want to be selling extra strength Tylenol, sales points for, a cheap version. It's not being very transparent. I have a need. I have a problem. Me, the buyer, has a problem, and I need you, the seller, to really help me solve this problem. Enough to make me come back if the problem occurs again. Enough to make me share this with friends and family who have the same need or problem. And enough to write a review about it. This product worked amazing. I had a headache and I took the aspirin and it really worked and my headache went away. It has to actually be worth it. Now, again, in business, you have a lot of people who may believe in their product, but it just might not be a good product. Those are the ones I would say, just be careful. Make sure you do your due diligence as the buyer as well, right? So in sales, there's one quote that I really, really like. It says, the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. And that's from Vince Lombardi. And then the other quote is, there's no lotion or potion that will make sales faster and easier for you unless your potion is hard work. And that's Jeffrey Gitomer. And I love both of those quotes because in sales, to be a successful salesperson, you don't have to necessarily have the skill set. That comes with time, but you want to be able to get no's. People tell you no all the time in business. You're just trying to sell something and this might be the last thing you have in your back pocket. We're in a pandemic right now and a lot of people are still trying to scratch their way to the surface. So getting into business right now might be the move that you have taken up. However, I would say just to be very understanding that you will get more no's than yeses. So if you ever paid attention to the really successful salespeople that may be on your team, I guarantee they've got rejected more than the whole team combined if they're the best salesperson. I charge you to go do your research. If you're listening right now and you have a sales team, go see how many no's your top salesperson got and compare it to the whole team's average. And I bet you the top salesperson is the one with that will that Vince Lombardi was talking about. This is the one that won't give up. That's what comes with sales. Sales is not easy. I say it all the time. It's just not an easy type of thing, right? And that's because there's different types of sales. So you might be good at one type of sale, you're not so good at another type of sale. So some of the sales that I wanted to talk about today is the first one is inside and outside sales. So inside sales is when a sales team engaged with their prospects, their customers, their potential buyers from a remote location. So you might have gotten phone calls about an extended car warranty lately. I think everyone has gotten it. I remember someone's nephew got it. He's like 8. And they called his phone like, hey, we have deals for your extended car warranty. And he was so confused. He's like, I don't even have a car. Like, he was confused. He thought he had a car and that, his folks didn't give him his ride. You don't want to be that salesperson. You have to pay attention to your customer base. Sometimes, again, there's the swindle and a lot of companies are getting blasted in some ways, depending on, who goes off about it. Some companies have been selling, their contact list to third-party vendors, and those vendors will call you and call you and call you. And so that happened in that instance. They just got a list of numbers. They didn't know who the people were. They didn't understand anything. They just were doing their sales. So with inside sales, I think more businesses should be mindful of who they're calling exactly. or when they get a contact list. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes the inside sales team, they depend on their outside sales teams to get leads. So that's why I joined those two together. So the outside sales team, they're out in the field. So if you ever, went to Walmart or Target, you might have saw an AT&T rep. You might have saw a Verizon rep. You might have saw a DirecTV representative. And those are agents who work for a branch of the main corporation. So Verizon has their outside sales teams, and those outside sales teams get broken up into groups, and they go to different locations and they attempt to sell. They attempt to get leads and things of that nature. I did that before. Was not my cup of tea. I had a friend do it. He did really great. It just wasn't his cup of tea, but he was killing it. I'm like, man, you should have kept going. But, outside sales is very hard because those are the direct in your face no's. I think it's easier. I used to work in a call center. I think it's easier when people tell you no over the phone than when they tell you no to your face. It's just, you're getting all the emotion behind the no with outside sales. So if you're in the outside sales world, more power to you. You have you have much respect from Moriah and the GSMC Business News Podcast, because it's not easy. And then there's what you call the B2b Sales. This common B2b, that acronym stands for business to business. That's when businesses sell to other businesses instead of consumers. So they tend to have higher value, items. You wouldn't sell a service to just a regular customer whose demographic only pulls in an average of $80,000 a year. You wouldn't try to sell them a high ticket item that's worth $500,000, right? You might be able to double that 80. There might be some type of payment plan or a prescription-based plan. A subscription-based plan that you could potentially put that demographic if you're selling some type of service. But more so with the B2b sales, these are your high ticket items. These are the things that are worth, they're selling systems for maybe $80K a pop, and the business is ordering about 5 of them. Or you might be selling them, if you're in tech, you might be selling them some software processing systems, and you might be selling them for $100,000 a piece. It just keeps going on and upward. I'm sure there's been some ticket sales in the millions. I wouldn't be surprised, it really depends on the business and what that brand can afford and what they can't. Then you have your B2c sales. So unlike business to business, this is business to consumer, and it revolves around the transactions between the business and the individual customers. So these are more so your lower values, like I was stating. If your demographic pulls in $80K a year, and you're selling a service or a system, you might put them on a subscription plan. At the end of the life cycle, they might have spent, upwards in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but on a monthly basis, they can afford a certain type of service. So that's that business to consumer. And then you have your business development sales. So it doesn't account for an entire sales transaction. It's important to understand the function of it for many businesses. Normally the business developer, the business development manager, I'm getting tongue-tied today. They're normally the ones who carry out the business development sales. So they're responsible for generating, new business and the leads for the company. So again, they might work with the outside sales team to get some things done. And then, they give them to their other sales reps. They might have gotten all the leads, and then they take it to the inside sales teams, and they might give them those leads so that team can follow up and things of that nature. And then you have agency sales. Clients are typically signed by a project, or they're on a retainer. I know one example, I would say, is they're a hiring company and a hiring agency, and they convert leads or temp workers to work for certain companies, and there's a transaction that takes place between the temp companies and the business that are looking for temps. There's many different type of agency sales examples. So just want to keep that in mind. You have consulted sales, so they might work for those mortgage lenders. They might work for those type of companies. You have your e-commerce sales, and that's strictly online. My favorite kind of sale. I love that things are going to online, more tech, more AI, more automation. I'm really feeling it. It wasn't my biggest area of fun, but now that I'm in business, I love the automation in the online world. It's really great. So those are just a few different types of sales. There's many different types of sales. I could keep going on and on. But we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I'm just going to let you know some systems that you may be able to implement into your business, and how you can, start getting those sales. Now that you know how to be a sales rep, you got to be transparent, got to be open and honest. And you know the different types of sales. So you might figure out which one you like. And now it's time to implement it. So stay with us.
Do you work in the world of marketing and advertising? Are you a media buyer or the owner of an agency? Have you been looking for a podcast to help stay on top of all the goings on of those worlds? The GSMC Marketing News Podcast is dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning marketing and advertising. Get the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast has you covered, whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand.
Back, and again today we're talking about sales. We talked about briefly the definition of sales. It's the exchange of goods and services for currency. There's different kinds of sales. There's your B2b or your business to business. There's your B2c, your business to consumer. There's inside sales, outside sales. There's account based sales. There's a few different types of sales that take place. So if you're in business yourself, you might be trying to figure out, how do I even implement all of this? Now that I know what sales are, now that I know how to, to do the sales, so I know how to launch, right? But there are about 4 steps that help increase sales. So there's a business author by the name of Josh Kaufman, and he has 4 steps. I agree with his 4 steps. I loved reading on this a little while back, so I wanted to share this knowledge with everyone. The 4 different steps on how to kind of implement the sales into your business, and kind of how to raise the stakes up a little bit. It's hard when you're in business. Some days you have no sales, and it's going to be days like that, right? I like to think of business similar to the stock market, how it keeps going up over time, but there's always these dips that it takes. It might take a very big dip, but then it goes back up. And then there's maybe a smaller dip, and it goes back up a little bit. And then there's another big dip, but then it goes back up really big. I think sales is the same way. There are going to be days where you're just not going to make $1, but you might get a lead. You might get a follower, or you might get a member sign up. All of those are very good when the sales days aren't the best, right? So while the sales days aren't good, you want to take some time, look back over your structure, get some things in order. You might want to take into mind these 4 steps, right? So step number 1, I think that these are like the only real ways to really get the sales going. And the first one is to increase your number of customers. So just think about your business, right? And you're selling something and you don't have any customers. So no one's buying anything because there's no customers to buy anything. There's no one to bring any revenue in. So what does that mean to increase the number of customers? It means bring more people in the door, right? You want to get your strategy to be as simple and as straightforward as possible. So the more people come into the door, the more you're likely to land a sale. I would use the example of maybe a car. You might have a car shop. You might be a auto body car shop. You do little things on the side, but for the most part, you fix cars. You get those scratched up doors together. You get those bent bumpers together. You fix those rims that get bent when people are trying to parallel park in the city, right? That's your thing. That's what you do. But your prices, they're for auto body work. So people are going to be paying, they're going to be paying for what they need. If they need it, they're going to have to pay a little bit. So, you're noticing, I'm doing this, but not a lot of people are coming in to get work done. What you might need to do is offer other services so that more customers can come in. So while before all you did was auto body work, you might want to offer some oil changes. That's a quick way to make some money, right? Everybody needs oil change. I know how to do my oil change. I hate doing my oil change some days, especially in the summertime. It's hot. I'm under the hood of under the car. It's not fun. So I'd rather take it to somebody else to get it done during those hot summer months. That might be what you want to do. You might want to offer that other option. So when they do come in and they're getting their oil changed and they see a car that was completely mauled, right, when they got there, they dropped their car off for the oil change. You might want to offer an inspection too, so you can get your oil change, your inspection, and some auto body work. So the customer comes in, they drop the car off, they're looking at this beat up Honda, right? The door is twisted off. And then by the time they come back to get the car, they see how shiny and buffed it is, and you wax the whole car down, and you did all this great detailed work. That customer is going to keep that in mind. Okay, well, if I ever have problems, I know for a fact they do great quality work. So I'll keep them in mind. I'll come back and I'm going to tell my friend, oh my gosh, I saw this car this morning. It was so messed up. I came back and it was completely fixed and things like that. Customers share information. Customers are, I want to say, some of the mouthiest people on the planet, and I love every minute of it. Yes, spread the news. Tell everyone this place is great, because that's going to help us get some sales. That's going to help us get more people to at least stop by, right? You might want to go to a vending event every once in a while. Set up your stuff. You might have a nice little presentation, some before and after pictures, and give business cards just to get leads, to get more people in the door. So you want to increase the number of customers. However you decide to do that, you want to make sure you're able to get people in. Okay. Now going on to number 2, increase the average transaction size. So that's what I meant by the bundle. You might want to offer the auto body work. And then you offer, hey, if you come and get your car done with us at Auto Body Shop, we'll throw in a free oil change and a discounted inspection. What? I will be there. I would just go just to see if I qualify for the discounts. Now, I'm not saying that this is what you should do. I'm just giving basic examples for the sake of the topic at hand. But this can go for any business. I remember when I worked in cell phones, I worked at a few different places selling phones. And one thing we always had was bundled deals. So you can buy the phone and we'll do all types of attachments. You can get headphones. At the time, the Bluetooth, the ones that wrapped around your neck, they were really, really popular. So we'll throw in a discounted Bluetooth set, and you can get a phone case, and you can get a screen protector, any type. You can get the regular kind, you can get the privacy ones, you can get the mirrors, and for all of this attached with the phone, you're going to get it for a very low price. We'll even throw in some insurance for you, right? You want to do an increase in what and what the customer is buying. You want to get each customer to purchase more. So that's normally what I'm talking about is upselling. So if you've ever been to, I want to say it might be Chick-fil-A. A lot of the fast food restaurants do it. But you can get this size drink for $1. You can get a small drink for $1. You can get a medium drink for $1.50. And for a large, you can get it for $2. So what would you do in that case? Okay, if I get a small, I'm paying $1. Well, I can bump all the way up to a large for $2. That's nothing. I'll do it. So that's what we mean by upselling or increasing the transaction size. You want to make them pay more. Obviously you want to offer them a little bit more, but you want them to, you're trying to figure out a strategic and honest, transparent way to get the customer to just pay for a little bit more than what they would normally pay for. So the next one that you want to go into is increasing the frequency of transactions per customer. So what does that mean? That means you want to encourage people to purchase from you more than once. And that's what I meant earlier on in this episode where I was discussing, customers, they might buy something on launch day, but what you're selling isn't really something they will buy all the time. Now, for me, I like a good designer t-shirt every now and then, but that's not something that I would typically buy over and over, right? I wouldn't just continue to buy a $60 white tee when I know for a fact I can get some great quality packs of white t-shirts for almost more than half of that price. So if that's your sale item, if all you're selling is a expensive or a designer t-shirt, I should say, there needs to be something else to bring the customers back. You might want to add some socks. You might want to add a hat. You might want to add a bag that they can purchase. You might want to add, just some other things in there. So I've recently gotten heavily into skating. I'm trying to be active and fit, do something to keep my bones moving with all this pandemic talk, just sitting in the house and eating, doing something fun and active has been great. So I've gotten into skating, and the individuals I bought my skates from, shout out to them. The skates are amazing. Absolutely love them. Their nicknames are Red Bones. They are all red. From top to bottom, laces included. I absolutely love them. But what that website offered was different colored laces. They offered the protector for the front. So, when you go to use your brake, you might scuff up the front of your skates a little bit. So they offer some really cool looking protectors. They offer alternating brakes. So I have adjustable brakes and I can untwist them really easily and twist some new ones on there if I go through the same website. And obviously you have other businesses who offer the same things like Amazon, and you can find some on other skate sites, but I'm specifically talking about the people that I bought my skates from. There is so much attachments that you can add. So before checkout, they ask you, hey, did you check out our colorful laces? And you say, oh, I'll skip for now. And then they say, hey, don't forget, we have those, those protective, the front protectors. And then the last one I think was the skate holders. Now they almost got me with the skate holders because I should have gotten them because the skates are heavy. I didn't realize how heavy skates were. So, after practice, you don't feel like lugging them things around. So you might want to have the shoulder strap where you just slide your skate in it and you walk with your skate strapped on. I thought that was really cool, but the way they did it was like upselling. So after you keep going through your transaction, you get more and more options. So I think that's pretty cool. And that's what they mean by, increasing the frequency of transactions per customers. You want them to come back. I'm definitely going back for some different color laces. I think I want to do white on red. I might do black on red. I think the black would be really, really hot. See, they already got me. They have me suckered in. I keep checking the website every day for like different color wheels and things I can add. There's a skate kit that you can buy. So if you want to, tune up your wheels, tune up your brakes, you can do so. You can detach the bottom and add your own to the top. I've seen one custom order they've done where if you come, you can you can send them a pair of your sneakers, and they'll customize the sneakers and turn them into skates, which I think is dope. I've seen some great Jordans on skates, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, you can do anything. I saw a pair of high heels customized and made into skates. So there's all kind of ways that you can bring customers back. That to me is awesome. Now I know once I'm better at skating, I can get a customized pair. I might get my favorite pair of sneakers and get them made into skates. I think that's pretty dope. So that's a way to keep getting customers to come back. And then finally, raise your prices. A lot of businesses don't like to raise your prices, so that's why your business advisor might advise you to set a certain price in the beginning, and that way you can give discounts in case. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Cost of living goes up, so you got to raise your prices. So you'll just end up collecting more revenue from every purchase over time. And you just want to do it in a way that's ideal for customers. If you're selling them something that's normally $20, you don't want to jump it to $90. I wouldn't buy it. Not unless there was some great added features, right? You have to really wow me to make me say, okay, I'm going to go from something I paid $20 for to $90. You might be able to get me from $20 to $40. I'm not going to lie. You might be able to get me from $20 to $40. But almost $100 jump for the same thing, not with Moriah. It's just not going to happen. But with other businesses, hey, it depends. It depends on the sales rep, right? It depends on who's selling. It depends on how honest and truthful they are. What are the benefits to what you're trying to sell me, right? All right, so we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I'm going to get into some businesses who I think are doing some of the different types of sales. And I think they're doing it at a very high level. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Again, today we're talking about sales. What is sales? Sales is the transaction between a business to a business or a business to a customer, and it's in exchange for goods and services, for currency. There are different types of sales, and a few ways that you can implement better sales into your business is to increase how many customers are coming into the store. So you might want to run some specials. You might want to do a few things of that nature to kind of get the word out, get the buzz going. You might want to raise your prices on your items. You want to make sure you're doing a good selling point at first, though, because if you raise your prices egregiously, chances of the customer coming back they get a little slim after a while, right? So you want to be mindful of that. So right now we're just going to get into some different types of examples of businesses who I believe are doing things the right way. So the first example, I would say this is an example of a B2c business or a business to consumer, is Telford Global. Telford Global is a luxury purse line. Normally with fashion brands, they're in stores, so you might be able to go to your high-end stores, and you'll be able to see all types of designers, all types of fashion that you can go in the store and actually purchase. You can order online and get it delivered to a store, and then go pick it up that way. You might be able to go to the specific boutique and get your items. Well, Telfar handles things slightly different. It's a strictly online e-commerce fashion house, right? So they have 3 size bags. I'm very, very learned in Telfar Global because my wife is slightly addicted to the brand. It is a Black-owned brand. They do have some quality bags, though. Beautiful colors. I would say very, very, very nice spring and fall colors that they have. So it's not just like your everyday black and red. They have specific color blues, different kind of yellows, different kind of oranges, just really nice. We like to travel and go on the beach, and she might want a little bag. She might not want a big size bag, so there's different options that you can choose from. So I've looked on there a few times and saw some things that she might be getting. So shout out to Telfar. They have really quality items. So not only are they online only, but when you get your items, they're high quality. And that's something that can be a little nerve wracking when you're buying things, online. You're not sure how the bag really is, especially because they don't have a physical brick and mortar store. So what they do, they put they do sales day. So on specific calendar days, they'll let their customers know online. They're very heavy on Instagram as well, and they'll let you know when the new drop is. They've been all over the country. They had one shoot in a Philly subway. I thought that was pretty interesting. No one ever goes down there to look fly, but they made it look cool. So shout out to them. And so they put the items on their website, and the day of, good luck to you, because it is cutthroat out there. They sell out, the bags sell out in minutes. So there's, I would say the only downside to that is because there's no physical store. So you can't actually go into a store and say, you know what, I missed the launch online. Let me just go to the store and get the bag. Now you have to wait for the next drop. What they also implemented, like almost like a buy any bag you want. And so it's like a pre-order. It is going to take a few months to get the bags, because some people were buying like 4, 5, 6 of the bags, right? And you multiply that by how many customers they have. So that's going to take some while for production. So they did that. And that, to me, that's a way of getting customers to come back. Because, okay, I have these bags waiting, I'm supposed to get them in a few months, but they're still having drops in the meantime. So I can still cop a bag that I might not have bought on, the Buy Any Bag campaign. So I think it's really different, and it's very unique how they're doing their B2c sales. They constantly give updates on their Instagram page on, what's going on. Order issues, how to get in touch with them, things of that nature. So they're strictly online. It's not really done that way with a high-end brand. Normally the high-end fashion brands, there's always been some type of boutique you can go into, some type of store you can go shop at. Not with Telfar. They're strictly doing it new school, and I think I love it at this point. I've bought into it. Shout out to my wife. She's helped me with that as well. I'm looking for some satchels. Maybe they'll come out with a nice over the shoulder satchel I can put my laptop in, things like that. So shout out to them. Then let's get into some B2b e-commerce. That's the business to business. The first one I can think of is Salesforce. I've used it at almost every job I've ever worked at. Salesforce is a software system. There's a lot of different things you can do within Salesforce, so I would charge you to go take a look at them. It's one of the best business-to-business softwares because it's a centralized place. It's like a content powerhouse, right? It gives you all types of marketing channels, ways you can do things. You can look at your KPIs. You can look at everything that you need for your brand. Salesforce will have you covered. I know I worked for a call center, and Salesforce was our system that we used. So they offer a few different things, but they sell it to other businesses. So this is not one of the types of brands that sell to consumers. Normally you have a large team or a semi-large team that you need a centralized location for them to really, for you to be able to see all of the information that you're trying to obtain. So Salesforce, they sell to the big names. I've seen some government contracts with Salesforce. I've seen private contracts with Salesforce and other businesses. So shout out to Salesforce. I think what they're doing is pretty cool. Another system similar to that would be like Slack. So for a business group that I'm a part of called Forbes the Culture, we have, depending on the sector that you're in, there is a different Slack group underneath the Forbes the Culture umbrella. So you can hop in the different rooms and chat with different individuals. And, it's a really cool thing. It's really centralized for the workers. Keeps everything very professional. Sometimes with a group chat, like a text message, if they're blowing up the group chat, you can't just excuse yourself, right? But you might be able to turn the notifications off or down, but it's still a lot of information being held on your phone. With Slack, everything's held in the application. So I'm a part of a few different channels in Slack, so I'm constantly checking between like 3 or 4 different organizations just to see what they're talking about. It keeps me organized. It sends, you can have reminders, you can set up your profile on there, let everyone know what it is that you do, who you are, what your name is, things like that. So I like Slack. I think it's pretty cool. I remember I didn't know how to work it at first, but every organization I've joined uses Slack, so I had to get on quick. So I'm a Slack pro at this point. So shout out to Slack. I think that's pretty cool. Another example of a B2B business would be Shopify, right? So Shopify has a contract with, a few businesses have a contract with Instagram. Shopify is the most common example that I've seen, where if you set your website up and you use the Shopify platform and you set up a page on Facebook to set up a Facebook shop, you can connect it to Instagram. And Instagram to me is it's one of the most unique social media platforms I think I've seen, where you can do video, you can talk, you can call each other, you can promote sales, there's reels, and the layout just makes sense for everything it offers. Now, what I stated, you can do all of those features on different apps, but I feel like Instagram centralizes it the most. I can post from Instagram to a number of other applications. So Shopify saw that I believe as, a pretty cool advantage. And now they offer a way to have your shop set up on Instagram so you can sell directly through Instagram. I've shopped with a few small business owners that, I just believe in their brand, and I've shopped right from Instagram. I use my Apple Pay. Almost forgot that I ordered because it was so seamless and so easy to do. So I think the way that they're doing that is great. I think we're going to see more of that being implemented across other social media platforms as well. I think they're kind of being somewhat of a leader in that way. And then another example of a B2B business would be Skype. So Skype is a B2B business service from Microsoft, and it allows you to do video conferences, and you can be anywhere in the world. I remember I was interviewing to be an English, a small-time, English professor overseas, and it was going to be strictly on Skype. So I had to do my interview on Skype. I had to take my verbal exam on Skype. I had to, it was a lot of things I had to do, and everything was a Skype link. So they were just like, you got to have Skype. If you want this job, you got to have Skype. I ended up going with a different type of job altogether, but I just remember that experience. It was so different because this was a few years ago. So, a lot of things were happening on Skype, but I just never had an interview be done on Skype before. So that was a pretty new experience for me. Zoom is similar in the same way, but anyone can use Zoom. Anyone can use Skype. I think they're better for the business brands, though, because of the capacity that they have, how you can record the meetings, you can save the meetings, things of that nature. The same for CRM, other CRM systems. So those are just a few examples of some systems who do sales to different customers and who do sales to different businesses. There are, again, your inside sales and your outside sales. Like for the example I gave earlier with Verizon, you might see some outside sales reps in bigger stores like Walmart and Target with their station set up, looking to sell you a certain type of service. They always ask who I have. I remember one time I was a big AT&T girl, and I always ran into AT&T reps, and they were always trying to offer me a better discount, get me to come back. Those 4 steps. You might want to increase the number of transactions that a customer does. You might want to increase the number of customers that come through the door. And I think with certain B2b businesses and with certain B2c businesses, it's much easier to do so because you have a wider range, of a wider reach, I should say, on different customers and getting them to write reviews, offering incentives, so many different ways you can get your sales up. Today, I just wanted to give a few different types of tips on how to do so, all right? So thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm Moriah. Thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Business News Podcast, powered by the GSMC Podcast Network. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm constantly tweeting. Others are constantly tweeting. Make sure you're checking out our other channels. We have the TV. We have sports, one of my favorites. We have the Love channel. Get some good relationship advice, right? So make sure you're liking us on our social medias, subscribing, sharing the news, getting it out there. GSMC is doing big things, all right? So thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Peace.
You've been listening to the GSMC Business News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type GSMC into your favorite podcast app to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Please subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.